treasured dreams I had.
The Grand Ole Opry is the most sacred stage in country music. Getting invited to join it is the highest honor Nashville can give you. But some of the biggest names in the genre got thrown out of it. Fired, suspended, locked out entirely, sometimes before they'd even set foot on the stage. These are the true stories of 10 country legends who crossed the Opry and paid for it. Number 10. Elvis Presley. A 19-year-old truck driver from Memphis gets his shot at the biggest stage in country music. His name is Elvis Presley, and he's just cut a single at Sun Records called That's All Right. Sun's owner, Sam Phillips, pulls strings to get him a slot on the Grand Ole Opry, singing a rockabilly-flavored version of the Bill Monroe bluegrass standard, Blue Moon of Kentucky. The response is polite, maybe a little confused. This wasn't the traditional sound the Opry crowd came for. As the story has been told for decades, Opry talent director Jim Denny pulled Presley aside afterward and told him he wasn't going to make it in the business, and that he should go back to driving a truck. Denny's own family has since disputed the exact wording of that quote. We can't go on. But what isn't disputed is this. Elvis Presley was never invited back to the Grand Ole Opry stage. Not once, not ever, not even at the height of his fame. He reportedly cried the whole drive home to Memphis and left his suitcase behind at a gas station along the way. Country music's most sacred stage had the king of rock and roll and let him walk right out the door. I can't walk out because... Number 9. David Allan Coe.
My name. Did I miss anybody, Mama?
This one's a little different from the rest of this list, because David Allan Coe was never actually a member the Opry could kick out. He simply never got the invitation in the first place. When Coe first arrived in Nashville in the early 1970s,
We love Jenny.
he didn't have money for an apartment, so he lived in his car, a red, white, and blue Cadillac hearse, painted with the words, "Support the Grand Ole Opry" on the back. He'd park it right outside the Ryman Auditorium, climb on top of it, and play guitar for anyone walking by. It worked, in a way. Coe landed a record deal with Plantation Records off the strength of that hustle and went on to write outlaw country classics, including Take This Job and Shove It, later a massive hit for Johnny Paycheck. But despite decades as one of the genre's most influential outlaw songwriters, David Allan Coe was never welcomed into the Grand Ole Opry, not as a guest, and never as a member.
Call me darling.
As one longtime Nashville observer put it, the Opry wouldn't touch him with a stick. The hearse still made its point, though, even if the building never opened its doors.
We're drinking Lone Star beer and getting...
Love country music and the stories behind the legends? Subscribe to the Country Files, hit the notification bell, and join us for more unforgettable country music documentaries. Thanks for watching.
Number 8. Ray Price.
For the way that I feel.
In 1956, a Texas honky-tonk singer named Ray Price released Crazy Arms, 20 weeks at number 1, and one of the first country records ever built around a full drum kit. At the time, drums were so controversial
That reach to hold somebody new.
that they were effectively banned from the Grand Ole Opry stage. Price helped change that all by himself. Price kept evolving, kept touring harder than almost anyone in Nashville, and by the early 60s, he was pioneering a lush, orchestral sound
For my yearning heart keeps saying.
the industry would come to call countrypolitan, built on strings instead of fiddles, a sound that made him a bigger concert draw than ever. But the Grand Ole Opry had one strict rule for every member.
My I'd trouble mine no soon.
You had to appear on the show a minimum number of weeks each year, no matter how big you'd gotten. And Ray Price, busy touring the exact stardom the Opry helped build, wasn't hitting that number. In December of 1964,
So please take the treasure.
the Opry dropped him from its membership roster entirely, not for a scandal, not for a stunt, but for a scheduling requirement. Price never rejoined as an official member,
Easy arms may hold somebody new.
though he'd return for guest appearances for the rest of his life. The rule that ended his membership couldn't touch the songs, though. Ray Price kept charting hits into the 1980s.
Crazy arms.
Number 7. Kitty Wells. In 1952, a 33-year-old singer named Kitty Wells was ready to quit the music business entirely and stay home with her 3 kids. Then a producer at Decca Records asked her to record an answer song to Hank Thompson's hit,
It brings memories when I walk.
The Wild Side of Life, a song that dared to suggest, from a woman's point of view, that men shared the blame for broken marriages. She almost said no. She only did it for the union session fee. That song was It Wasn't God Who Made Honky Tonk Angels, and it was too much for 1952. NBC Radio banned the record outright for being too suggestive, and the Grand Ole Opry, the biggest stage in the genre, initially refused to let Kitty Wells perform her own #1 hit on their air at all. It took Roy Acuff himself personally vouching for her before Opry management finally relented. The song went on to become the first #1 country hit ever recorded by a woman, and it made Kitty Wells the genre's first female superstar, the queen of country music. She'd remain an Opry member for over a decade, until 1964, when she was dropped from the roster in the very same attendance purge that caught Ray Price. But by then, the song they once tried to silence had already rewritten what country music was allowed to say. Number 6. DeFord Bailey. Long before Hank Williams, before Johnny Cash, before any of the names on this list, there was DeFord Bailey, a harmonica virtuoso from rural Tennessee, standing barely 4'10" after childhood polio. Bailey was one of the very first stars of what would become the Grand Ole Opry, performing regularly from 1926 all the way through 1941. His song Pan American Blues, the sound of a train, built entirely out of harmonica breath, was reportedly the very performance that inspired the show's name in the first place. He was country music's first African-American star. In 1941, WSM abruptly fired Bailey, citing a licensing dispute between radio stations and the ASCAP Music Rights Organization, and claiming Bailey refused to learn new songs. Bailey always disputed that explanation. "I can read between the lines," he told his biographer years later. What's undeniable is this: while touring the segregated South with his white Opry colleagues, Bailey was regularly barred from the same hotels and restaurants they used, sometimes sleeping in the car, while bandmates like Uncle Dave Macon slept inside. After his firing, Bailey never returned to a music career, spending the next 3 decades running a shoeshine parlor in Nashville instead. In 2022, 81 years later, the Grand Ole Opry finally issued a formal, on-air apology to his memory. Number 5. Dierks Bentley. Every artist on this list got banned from the Grand Ole Opry for something they did on its stage. Dierks Bentley, is the only one who got banned before he ever set foot on it. In the late 1990s, a young, unsigned Dierks Bentley took a day job as a researcher at the Nashville Network, a TV station that happened to sit right on Opryland's grounds. Every weekend, he'd sneak backstage at the Opry just to hang around the real country stars, soaking it in, talking to musicians, occasionally meeting people who'd inspire his future songs. In fact, his eventual breakout single, What Was I Thinkin', was written about a girl he met on one of those unauthorized visits. Eventually, Opry general manager Pete Fisher caught on to just how often this unsigned 20-something kid was lurking backstage, and revoked his access completely. Eventually, I got a letter at my place of work, Bentley later recalled, saying, "Hey, we love Dierks, but he can't come to the Opry every single weekend." Getting banned only made him want it more. In 2003, after What Was I Thinkin' became a hit, his ban was lifted and he made his official Opry debut, introduced, fittingly, by bluegrass legend Ricky Skaggs. By 2005, he wasn't just allowed back in, he was a full Opry member. Number 4. Skeeter Davis, The End of the World.
I'm shining.
By 1973, Skeeter Davis had already survived a car crash that killed her singing partner, rebuilt a solo career from scratch, and spent 15 years as a beloved member of the Grand Ole Opry, known for hits like The End of the World
Why do the stars glow above?
and her deep, outspoken Christian faith. On December 8th of that year, just hours before her scheduled Opry performance, Davis witnessed something that shook her. Nashville police arresting members of a Christian street preaching group at a local shopping center. After shoppers complained they were being too persistent. Davis walked straight from that shopping center to the Opry stage, still visibly upset. "This is really something that I should share," she told the live radio audience. They've arrested 15 people just for telling people that Jesus loves them. And that really burdened my heart. She then led the crowd in a rendition of Amazing Grace, dedicated to the arrested preachers. A police officer working Opry security confronted her afterward, demanding an apology. Davis refused to give one. 1 week later, Opry general manager Bud Wendell called her personally. Her membership was suspended indefinitely.
Don't they know it's the end?
"I felt like a child without a home," she said afterward. The suspension lasted just over a year before fan pressure brought her back, and Skeeter Davis remained a proud Opry member for the rest of her life.
Why does my
Number 3. Jerry Lee Lewis, Great Balls of Fire. By January of 1973, Jerry Lee Lewis, rock and roll's original wild man, was in the middle of a genuine country comeback, thanks to hits like Another Place, Another Time. The Grand Ole Opry finally invited him to perform. There were exactly 2 conditions: no cursing and no rock and roll songs. Just country and just a couple of tunes. Lewis broke both rules in his opening sentence. "Let me tell you something about Jerry Lee Lewis, ladies and gentlemen," he told the live radio audience, before dropping an F-bomb on live national airwaves. Opry rule number 2, obliterated in real time. Then, instead of 2 songs, he played for nearly 40 straight minutes, blowing through commercial breaks entirely, and instead of sticking to country, he tore into Great Balls of Fire. Whole lotta shakin' going on, and Chuck Berry's Johnny B. Good. The crowd, for what it's worth, loved every second of it. He brought the normally seated Opry audience to its feet. Management did not share their enthusiasm. Jerry Lee Lewis was never invited back as a performer and never became an Opry member, though decades later, in 2022, just weeks before his death, the Country Music Hall of Fame finally gave him the induction Nashville had withheld his entire career.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you.
Number 2, Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire.
I fell into a burning ring of fire.
In 1956, a 24-year-old Johnny Cash made his Grand Ole Opry debut, performing I Walk the Line to an audience that had never heard anything quite like him. It was there, backstage,
I fell into a ring of fire.
that he met a young singer named June Carter for the very first time, a meeting that would eventually save his life. But by 1965, Cash's life had spiraled. Years of amphetamines, barbiturates, and heavy drinking had taken over.
I fell into a burning ring of fire.
On top of a first marriage that was falling apart. He showed up to the Opry that October night, visibly, dangerously intoxicated. When there was a problem with his microphone during the show, Cash grabbed the mic stand and dragged it across the stage,
Burns, 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 the ring of fire.
smashing out every single footlight lining the front of the Ryman stage, sending shattered glass flying into the front row. Bassist Marshall Grant remembered being told afterward, "Get him out of here and don't bring him back."
Ring of fire, the ring of fire.
Cash himself later admitted, "I don't know how bad they wanted me in the first place, but the night I broke all the lights on the stage with the microphone stand, they said they couldn't use me anymore."
Oh, but the fire was wild.
He used it as an excuse to spiral even further, ending up in the hospital that same night. It would take 3 more years, and June Carter's insistence that he get clean if he wanted to marry her,
Went higher, and it burns, burns, burns. The
before the Opry welcomed Johnny Cash back in 1968. He remained a member for the rest of his life.
is a burning thing.
Number 1. Hank Williams, I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. June 11th, 1949. A 25-year-old Alabama singer named Hank Williams makes his Grand Ole Opry debut, performing Lovesick Blues. The crowd doesn't just applaud, they demand 6 encores, an almost unheard-of reaction for a first-time performer. Within months, Hank Williams is the biggest star in country music, writing songs that would define the entire genre. Hey, Good Lookin', I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry, Your Cheatin' Heart. But behind the songwriting, Williams was in near constant physical pain from a back injury and increasingly dependent on painkillers and alcohol just to get through each day. By the summer of 1952, everything was collapsing at once. His movie contract had fallen through. His marriage to his wife Audrey had just ended in divorce, and he'd missed scheduled Opry appearance after scheduled Opry appearance, too unreliable to trust with the biggest stage in the genre he'd basically built. Opry manager Jim Denny visited Williams personally, begging him to show up for one more scheduled performance on August 9, 1952, his absolute last chance. Williams missed that show too, then arrived drunk to another Opry-sponsored event the very next day. 2 days later, on August 11, 1952, Jim Denny fired Hank Williams from the Grand Ole Opry. It was meant as a wake-up call, a temporary firing, meant to shock him into recovery, with every intention of bringing him back once he'd gotten clean. He never got the chance. Hank Williams died 5 months later, in the backseat of a car on New Year's Day, 1953, At just 29 years old, his grandson launched a petition decades later, gathering over 65,000 signatures, asking the Opry to reinstate his membership after death. The Opry has always declined. As their own executive producer put it years later, there is not a single Opry night that happens where his influence isn't felt. Hank Williams remains, to this day, a former member of the very institution he helped make legendary.